Hello and good morning to all our dear scholars, my team, and everyone joining us on this inspiring session today. A heartfelt welcome to yet another powerful episode of Buddy4Vidya podcast series, an initiative by Buddy4Study, a platform established by Mr. Ashutosh Barnwal in 2011 with the mission to make education accessible to all. Till date, Buddy4Study has empowered over 138,000 students through scholarships, education loans, and structured mentorship, bridging the gap between the ambition and access.
Taking this mission forward, we come up with a Buddy for Vidya, a 52-week structured platform where we are inviting exceptional leaders such as yourself to share their insights, experience, so that it can spark clarity and enhance the character of students.
So it's our privilege to introduce our guest of honor, Padma Bhushan Dr. Vinod Dham, widely celebrated as the father of the Pentium Chip. Dr. Vinod Dham sir belongs nearly 50 years of pioneering expertise in semiconductors and tech entrepreneurship. He has been instrumental in shaping Intel iconic Pentium chip, driving it from inception to worldwide success. Beyond Intel, he played critical leadership roles at Silicon Spice, NextGen, and has been a key contributor to India's startup and a semiconductor ecosystem. Welcome, sir. We are truly honored to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aman. To host this special session today, we are honored to have Dr. Vinita Sahay, ma'am, one of the India's most distinguished education leaders and currently the director of IIM Bodh Gaya. She is the only second woman in the country appointed by the government of India to head an IIM and was instrumental in setting up IIM Bodh Gaya as its founding director. We are truly honored to have a guide today's dialogue. Thank you, ma'am. You can take this conversation forward.
Well, first, before we do that, I want to congratulate her for being the first woman to have started IMM. That's quite an achievement and quite an accomplishment.
Thank you so much, Vinodji. And this makes my day, getting a congratulatory message from somebody like you, somebody who started from India. If little bit of it reaches these people and makes them even further inspired, it is a time very well invested. And thank you so much for agreeing to be in this platform. The motive and the agenda is education for India.
Thank you.
Vinodji, I just wanted to ask so many things, but there are some things which I've kind of lined up. You rose from very humble beginnings, and you went on to become the global leader in technology, which indeed is very, very remarkable. Can you share some formative experiences from your childhood which you feel shaped who you became?
I was born in Pune, and my father was a civilian in army, so he was getting transferred back and forth a lot. And so I did quite a few grades in Pune, and then I came to Delhi. So the two things that I look back and probably have shaped me is initially when I started in Pune, I started in third grade, and I'd gone from Delhi, where they were not Marathi was not a subject in first two grades in Delhi, and it was a subject matter in Pune. And I was quite taken to task for not being up to standard by the teacher, which was quite hurtful to me, both physically and otherwise. But then I caught up by the next standard, the fourth grade, and then I stood first. And then I stood first all my life. So I think there's something about doing well academically. So maybe I was competitive, although at that young age, I don't think I had that feelings of competitiveness, but I look back and try to analyze. I must have been competitive to always stay first, no matter what. And then the same reverse thing happened to me when I came to Delhi in the eighth grade. My father got transferred, he retired, and we moved into Delhi. During my times, there were only 11 grades. They were not 10 plus 2. It was, till eighth grade, and then we had 3 grades after eighth grades. And the eighth grade was very crucial to pass and do well in, because a lot of your direction about whether you're going into biology or you're going into engineering was kind of getting decided that early a stage when you get into ninth grade in Delhi. And but there was one subject in eighth grade that I had not studied at all, and that was Sanskrit. So all the kids in Delhi had studied Sanskrit from first grade till the eighth grade, and I was coming into the eighth grade, but I had to somehow learn 8 years worth of Sanskrit in 1 year in order to pass the exam. So I didn't have to really score the highest grade in Sanskrit. I was able to successfully stand first in the eighth grade also, despite not doing very well in Sanskrit, but I passed the exam too. So that those are some of the instances that tell me I was driven, I was very disciplined, I was very committed to get the goals that I thought were important to me. I was persistent. I never gave up, even though there were a lot of reasons I could have thrown up my hands and said, "Sorry, this is mom and dad, this is not fair. Other kids have done 8 years. I'm doing 1 year. What do I do?" I was not a crybaby. That's all my life defines that whole thing. All my life, I've taken these amazing challenges that a lot of people would shy away from or probably would not even step in to offer themselves. But I took them upon myself and were not easy. And it's not like I passed with flying colors at every step of them. But at the end, I delivered. So at the end, to me, one of the lessons in life is what matters, other than many other things in life, is results. Did you get it done? Did you get it done successfully or not? A lot of people talk a lot, a lot of people start a lot of things in their life, but do you finish the job and take it out successfully and make an impact? To me, that's a very important lesson I have learned and I want to convey to everybody else.
How much do you think the Indian childhood or the Indian schooling or the struggle or the resilience required contributed to your success? Because now that you're in US and you see the other education patterns, so how much of your success you would attribute to that rigorous Indian education system which you
I
survived
think
here?
I think enormous because I have two sons who were born and brought up here. So I have firsthand watched. Of course, the system of education here is excellent, but they don't push, they don't drive, they leave you alone. That's why I think 1% of the kids who graduate here are just geniuses, okay? They invent things, they go on to start, open AIs and whatever companies like Google and others. But that's very small percentage because they are, to begin with, very gifted kids. And it's in them to just basically be doing like Bill Gates did. They are not being pushed like we do, not just by our parents, but by the whole society, by the whole culture, by the school, and by the other kids. And the whole environment is very, I would say, competitive in India compared to here. I think it has a lot to do with it, but a lot to do also with just the survival in India. I gave this example to PBS, which is a public broadcasting station here. They were doing back in the late 90s a series on Indians who have done well in Silicon Valley. So I was one of the people they came to interview and record just like you are recording. And I remember she asking me, "Hey, I hear that you guys are cream of the crop and you are the best people who came here and the top talent in the country." And I really took an objection to that because I wasn't the top talent in my college. The gold medalist was somebody else. I did not fetch any of the gold medals. And so I told her, I said, "No, not really. In fact, the smartest people are still living in India and they are, doing amazing things. And some of us who were not necessarily the best, but had desire to come here for a variety of reasons. In my case, I wanted to pursue semiconductors, which at that time was not being taught in a very advanced manner back in India at that time. But I gave her and then she asked me, she was surprised because she said, "I interviewed some other of your folks here in the valley who have done well, and they're claiming that they are here because they were the best." I said, "Maybe they were. I don't have objection to that, but I'm telling you who I was." Then she said, "What's the secret?" And I said, "The secret is very simple. Just the mere survival in India is a struggle, everyday struggle." And she gave me an example. She said, "Give me an example." I told her I was going to college from West Delhi to North Delhi in Kashmiri Gate, where my college was, Delhi College of Engineering. And we didn't have means to have car or scooter or any of those vehicles. I had to go by bus. And the bus would take about an hour plus and minus 10 minutes or whatever. And the problem was the bus would be coming. If you ever been to Delhi, Delhi is one of the most chaotic cities in the world and most indisciplined set of peoples. And there's just too many people. And I would go to the bus stand in the morning. The bus will be coming from somewhere else, just one stop or two stop before me. It will already be completely full. And there was no question of actually many of time the bus will not even stop to allow somebody to board. So you had to be lucky to let the bus stop there because somebody either had to get down. So that's the only reason they'll stop. And I was telling this person that, there's a computer in the brain and it has an algorithm already programmed into the brain. And every day I'll stand there and compute based on the direction of the bus and the speed and the tilt. I will know whether he's likely to stop or not. And usually they won't stop at the bus stand. They stop either before or after so nobody gets in. And I will rush up and normally always catch the bus because I had this figured out as to how to catch the bus. I had this for survival. So this is just one example of what we do, which is unthinkable here, never needed. Nobody, even when I share with my kids, they just can't even comprehend. What does that really mean? What that means is every day you struggle. And if you are, let's say, on scale of 1 to 10, 1, you look like in this country, you can be 10 because everything else around you is automatically taken care of. So you can focus your entire energy on only the thing at hand, which is your education or your job or whatever else you're doing. Rest of the systems are working so automatically, including systems of going to a bank back then or going to a post office or mailing something. Everything was, took a lot of time to do, and it doesn't here. So clearly, these people get a leverage of their system. We get a negative leverage of our system. So we have to be extra smart to make up for that and still come out ahead. At least that's my thesis.
Very, very interesting. One more thing which I've heard about you is that a lot of people have spoken about your humility, and they also say that in leadership, that is a very critical component. So, my curiosity is, was there any particular person who taught you this, and how do you think you applied it in your work?
I've been a tech leader all my life. In technology, you're really dealing with highly professional, extremely bright and smart people all the time. Especially, for example, when I did the Pentium chip, my team was, I won't be exaggerating, other than some of the junior people, my direct staff and the next layer of engineers designing the chip or modeling the chip or architecting the chip or testing the chip or doing various aspects of the chip were brighter than I was in any one of those things if I were to take one of those jobs myself and said, let me sit down and do it. I would say I would do not as good as they were doing. So you're dealing with some very smart people from Stanford and Princeton and Harvard and Berkeley and Tech. These guys are just what a charm it is to even work with them. To me, it's an honor to work with this team of people. And the question of where you learn humility and where you get from does not even arise. I mean, they are everything I have to make this insurmountable task happen in the world. The whole company is depending on it. The entire competition is breathing down heavily with a alternate architecture called RISC. We are literally at an inflection point in Intel to say, if we don't do this, we might as well pack up and go home. And here the whole burden is just on one man. And I want you to just take this in a perspective that unlike, say, General Electric or Boeing or many other companies in this country, Google, you take, or Amazon, they have multiple businesses. So if one business is not doing well, they have some other business from which they can at least draw some profits and carry on for a while. Unfortunately, at Intel, we started off as a broad semiconductor company, but the Japanese came in very fast and took away all the memory manufacturing from us. We used to make, company started as a DRAM, which is dynamic random access memory. We were the first one in the world to make it. That was the beginning of Intel. We gave that up way back when. And then we went into static RAMs, which was a very important memory technology. We gave that up as well. So the only thing left with us was this microprocessors. And in microprocessor, we took the lead and we became established. But every 3 years, we'll be making a new microprocessor, a 386, and 3 years later, a 486, a 3 years later, a Pentium, a 3 years later, a Pentium Pro. So at any given point of time in that 3 years, bulk of the revenues were shifting from old generation, which went down in cost and price rapidly, to this new thing that will be our savior. So if you mess that up, there was a major implication to the company's existence, to survivability. So that's a very high pressure job. I mean, I've never felt, in fact, I don't want to feel that pressure again in my life. Having gone through it, I've told some people it's like you have to become pure gold, you have to be purified through fire. And this is to me was like getting purified through fire, like burning, literally burning to come out on the other side alive, survive it. And you don't want to do it too many times. It's just takes too much away from you.
Very clearly, I can see, because we keep hearing that you have to be completely secure yourself to be surrounded by promising people. And no doubt that you become average of the 5 people that you are surrounded with. So possibly, that would have led to your growth being surrounded by the smartest.
Yes.
And of course, I guess the bus prepared you as a crucible to go through that fire.
Yes.
The DTC buses, we call it.
No, absolutely. Many of the experiences in India are fascinating. Even today, India is quite a challenging country, even though it has come so far along.
Yes.
But yeah, I think definitely India creates a chemistry in you. And by the way, I describe and explain, some people ask me, "Hey, how come so many of the top leaders of Microsoft, of Google, of Adobe, of all these guys are not born here, by the way. They were born in Chennai, they were born in Hyderabad, they were born in other places in India. I'm not talking about Indians like my sons who are born here. They're different breed altogether. And they don't make it as high as these guys do. Part of it is they are used to keeping many balls in the air at any given point of time and learning how to keep them all balanced. And that's it. That's a skill you learn just growing up in India.
No, you're very correct. Like even here in India, the recruiters are looking for tier two hungry India over entitled metropolitan India. Even in my journey to establish an IIM in the backyard of India, which is Bihar, where everybody used to keep telling me that, you're too impatient, you are rushing up too much when you want to establish an institution in 3 years or 5 years, because everything else takes decades. So I had to tell them that no, what is to be done is to be done, and what results is what matters. Because end of the day, everybody wants to see that it is done.
I
Okay.
must say that I totally agree with you. If I could convey certain messages to Indian audiences at large, not necessarily the scholars who are so young, but I think they are impressionable. Maybe they can get those messages too. And one of them is be impatient. Be impatient. There's just ho jayega, you know, dekh lenge. That doesn't work. You have to be impatient to get the results. And the way I learned for myself that was Intel was highly driven company already, by the way. But when I was going to do Pentium, the challenge was the management thought they were getting this big competition. They were afraid we will lose it. And they said this normal 3 year period of developing a new microprocessor from scratch and bringing it into production, please cut it down to 2 years. And mind it, that's a mission impossible. Cutting 1 year out of 3 years, which is almost 33%, was a very, very difficult job. But my boss at that time was a guy named Craig Barrett, Dr. Barrett, who reported to Grove, they were all kind of, at some point, a high level, you were reporting to everybody, and everybody can pick on you and call you names or whatever they want. But he was more of my direct boss, and we had five values in Intel. That was our culture. Just like there's a culture in countries, Hindu culture or culture in America. Our culture was five values that we had, and he took that slide on which five values were written, and diagonally across it, in red color, like in the background, he wrote down impatience. And he said, when you have to do all of these five values, but do them faster, better, and be impatient to go do that. And it was very difficult, but once you take a challenge, you may not meet it all the way, but at least you meet, even if you meet it halfway, you still have made a lot of progress.
Your message is resonating with me so much, because in our very short journey, where we knew that we are set up in a state where there is no industry, commerce, corporate, or industry, we take a lot of pride in that we have become the largest IIM in the country.
Excellent.
In a batch of about 300 students, we have students from 293 cities, which is like microcosm of India.
Absolutely.
And so when life gives you lemons, you make a lemonade. Now, another curiosity, again, coming from your humble beginnings, it's very known that you went to US with $8. And from those, must have been really very incredibly challenging. So what kept you motivated in your future?
So it was incredibly stupid to come here with $8. And I'll tell you a little bit of that story. It's not that I didn't have more than $8. So the first thing I want the audience to know, in 1975, Government of India only could give you $8 worth of foreign exchange if you're going abroad, period. That's all, because we had very limited foreign exchange in the country. And the first use of the foreign exchange was to buy military equipment. The second use was to buy medicine that we did not have in the country. If you want to go abroad, you could get $8. That's what it was. Now, there was a secondary market where you could get more dollars. Like everything else in India, you can find somebody who will give you dollars for rupees, rupees for yen, or whatever else there is. I had worked for 4 years in a semiconductor company, the Continental Devices India Limited. I had never taken a day off in those 4 years. And so when I told them I'm leaving to go abroad for my education, I was surprised that they gave me about 3 to 4 months worth of salary, equivalent to the time that I didn't take off, which I never really cared about and never thought about. But it was like a bonus. Wow, I suddenly got some money. And then I had a life insurance, which, in 4 years, whatever little amount I had. So I had money, which I gave to my mom before coming here, which I could have readily used some of it to exchange for maybe $100 more and come here with $108 instead of $8. But here is where my calculations were wrong and I was stupid. I had tuition scholarship. That is, I didn't have to pay any money for taking the classes when I come here. And I had research assistantship, and that was $325 per month. Somewhere along the line, I made a mistake of assuming when I land there and go, I'll be given $325, which turned out to be wrong because you have to first do some research assistantship before you get paid the money. You can't just say, give me the money first and then you work. And that is where the disconnect happened. So when I reached there and went to the foreign student office and met with the director to say I'm here, they learned from me that I was here only with $8 because I told them I needed some money to pay for the rent of my apartment and also some money for my health insurance. Even if I were to stay hungry for 15 days, I needed that money. And once they realized that I really had made that mistake, they gave me $125 from their distress allowance to be paid back at $25 per month over 5 months once I start getting my research assistant. That's how I could start my schooling with a money that was given to me by school to last for some time till I started making money.
So to start with, you started with the crucible out there as well.
That's right. I started, I tell people I started with a 0% loan. They didn't charge me any interest on that. And they were very kind and very, very, by the way, I'm just looking forward to going back there next year. This year, on same time I was getting Padma Bhushan in April, that university was going to give me a William Taft award. He was one of the presidents in, I think, 1850. He was the only president of America who was uh, not only a president, but also very brilliant guy in multiple different things that he did. And so they have named an award after him, that a person who has reinvented himself many times and done many things in life. And they're giving me the highest prestigious award. And they told me that last year.
So congratulations for that award in advance. This
Thank
I
you.
think talks about that spirit which as Indians we always carry. Vidya dadati vinayam. It says that education gives you humility.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
With humility of yours to be in touch with the professors and to be able to recognize their efforts and their contributions at this stage in life is again very, very Indian value. All life, you have always emphasized the importance of values and ethics. So, how do you think these principles they've guided you both professionally and personally and has helped you?
I don't think anybody can succeed in life truly uh, without some prerequisites. To me, it's like when you go to college and you want to get into IIM, a prestigious institute in Bihar. I bet there are some prerequisites. If you're not meeting those prerequisites, don't even come and bother to apply, because you'll be screened out by the computer itself. No human being will even look at you. To me, to truly be successful in life, it's a prerequisite that you have good values, basic values of honesty and ethics and responsibility and accountability and transparency. That is, when you screw up and something doesn't go right, you should be the first one to go and tell the management, who doesn't know what's going on and would not know what's going on. If you were not to come in and tell them, hey, I'm sorry, things have gone wrong and we are set back by 3 weeks. We will do A, B, C, D, E to make up, but maybe we'll make up 2 weeks, but 1 week will still be behind. And I'm letting you know, and there are implications to your business, your profitability, your P&L, your competition. That's for you now to figure out how you're going to deal with that. But I need to at least give you this information so you can deal with it. What if I didn't share that out of fear or out of whatever reason? That will be disastrous. So there were some basic values. I think even in India, it's very true, and I'll convey to all these scholars. We are not even discussing these things with you. We are assuming that your parents, your households have taught you those values growing up in your families, of honesty and of responsibility, of telling the truth and not just brushing the truth under the rug. These are extremely important. You cannot go very far in life. I became a venture capitalist, by the way, towards the end of my life, which is not what I am. That you need MBAs and you need finance, and I'm none of those. And I became that only for one reason. It was my payback time to India. About 2000, 25 years ago, I had done multiple companies. I thought I had made enough money to take care of me and my wife and my kids for the rest of my life. And I said, well, what have I done for the country who gave me the basic education? Nothing. So I went back to India. I met with Narayan Murthy. I met with Dasim Premji, and they all told me, don't do software, do chip. India was not ready for chip. There was nothing, nobody talked about chip. So I kept on thinking. I finally came up with the idea. I said, I did two companies here, and there were people who became millionaires. And, what if I do a fund in India and start a startup type of revolution? There was no venture capital in India, by the way, in 2000. There was no venture capital. There was no people investing in India. Americans were afraid to go to India because they didn't understand culturally how India works. Whatever they heard was not so positive. So they were all doing everywhere else but India. At that time, I went up to these people in America, raised $200 million based on my credibility, and now comes about ethics, values, my honesty, my transparency, all that they had observed over the decades. That, hey, you know what? He may not make us money because he may end up not investing correctly, but he will be honest with us. He will not take our money and do something inappropriate with it. So that level of confidence was needed for them to give money to someone like me to go invest in India. And today I'm very proud to see India is the third largest nation in the world, country in the world, doing startups. But a lot of people who are doing startups, sometimes I talk to the entrepreneurs, they have no idea. In fact, I met one in India this time, and he was in a startup and doing this and that. And when I told him, I said, and he had just graduated. He said, maybe he was born in 2000, right? So he said, you mean there was no venture capital? There were no startups then? I said, no. He said, oh, I assumed they were always were. I said, no, really, they were not. So you are one of those fortunate ones who doesn't even know and doesn't matter anymore that there is a whole industry that takes creative ideas, invests in them, and supports them. So no, I think to me, values of the kind that you're talking about are a prerequisite to success in life.
First of all, thank you so much for doing this to India. This whole concept of giving back, and maybe people like you, today youth knows that there were venture capitalists available, because there was a transition needed, much needed, and we are
And
here.
I'm still doing that. India is I love India. I'm here only because it so happened circumstances brought me here. I love India a lot, and I have been for many, many years, actually, even before Modi ji came. I've been trying to convince the previous governments to do semiconductors because I thought it's strategically important to do it. Forget about, a business, but even as you know, all the warfare, we just saw what happened in Iran. And if you look at and analyze what was going on, it was all technology. It's really people sitting in rooms and pushing buttons for that to happen. And underneath the technology, it's not just software, but it's a chip that's doing the work. And I wanted India to have that chip done in India by Indians for India and not depend on its outside country to be giving us those chips. So I was really fighting hard, but Modi ji and his team really heard me loud and clear, and they started this India Semiconductor mission, set aside $30 billion. I'm one of the advisors to the mission from day one. One of the first advisors, I'm proud to tell you, because I was quite engaged with them even in trying to give birth to the idea of doing it. And I still am. I'm still committed to that, and I'll stay committed till end of my life.
Two more things I wanted to ask. One is around, you've been hugely successful, but there must have been times of setbacks. So how did you handle those setbacks? Is my first curiosity.
Setbacks.
Yeah.
So setbacks. So this is something also I think is extremely important for our folks in India to grasp. In India, a setback is considered to be a failure. And the society at large assigns a stigma to a failure, which is a horrible, 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 horrible thing. If I was being assigned a stigma for failure, I have failed at least 1,000 times in the last 10 years. Here, we acknowledge that when you push the boundaries of technology, you are going to unknown areas. By definition, you are likely to be failing. Not once, many, many times, because you're pushing it all the time. We don't consider that to be a failure. We consider that to be an opportunity to learn faster and better than the guy next door who is also trying the same thing, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So we say, break fast and move fast. We want to break things fast because by breaking is when you learn what's going on. Now, India, there is a totally culturally now here, one area that I want India to learn from this side, that you don't really get too worried about, hey, if I took this responsibility or did this, and if it didn't work out, my mom or my dad or my uncle or somebody will think of me any less than I am. Since the whole society here is based on that, nobody looks at anybody as a failure.
So my last question, what does the word purpose mean to you? And what would you guide these students, that how do they find the purpose of their life? It seems you have found it pretty early.
Purpose is, in my mind, in the practical way, for these kids, the message I would say is something you have to discover for yourself. Each one of us somehow have a inclination and a strength in a specific area we don't know about. For some time, it takes a long time for us to know that we are passionate about some particular thing. And it's a journey. But to me, that's okay. Even if it takes you some time to discover yourself, it's okay. And I'll tell you one story should read about in this context is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was lost for a long time. By the way, Steve Jobs was not an electrical engineer. He was not a computer scientist. He was not a physicist. He was not a anything. In fact, his passion in life was to do calligraphy. In fact, one of the first keyboards of Apple has a keyboard with his calligraphy on it. That's his contribution, by the way. But he was a brilliant man, otherwise, in terms of conceiving a machine like this and saying, I'm going to bring it to market now. There were a billion people in the world who could have done that, but he did it, right? So he found his passion and he pursued it. Similarly, I would say all of you need to not struggle every day to say, oh, I'm still not finding it. What's my purpose? No, don't do that. Just do what you're doing and keep on doing what you're doing, and you will come across it.
Thank you so much, Vinodji. We really look forward to your India arrival. Whenever you're coming next, we would be more than happy to host you on our campus.
Thank you.
You would love the space.
I've enjoyed interacting with you. You were very insightful. You just took me to a journey which even I couldn't have forecasted myself to, but it was good. And hopefully it will give some insight into these young kids. Situations doesn't have to duplicate itself. They'll all present themselves in their own unique ways. There are some just learning threads that you take away and follow them for the rest of your life. And when you run into difficulty, remember that. And that's the truth. I'm giving you not just my learning, by the way, sitting here, but a lot of learning of Silicon Valley, because I am very immersed into the scene here and what goes on in each and every company. So you're learning collectively a tremendous amount of how the culture of technology in the mecca of the world of technology takes place.
Right. Thank you so much. Looking forward to meeting you in person one day and on campus.
Thank you.
Now, we would love to open the floor for the question from our scholars. So they have to chance to engage with you directly, gain clarity, and take away the meaningful insights from your session. So first of all, we are having Vishi Malik from NIT Warangal. So I will request Vishi to kindly ask your question.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vishi. I am final BTech year student pursuing my chemical engineering from NIT Warangal. My question to you, sir, is that you told so many aspects of your success. What are the three key elements that leads to your success? That you belong to the modest background in India and you earned the title father of the Pentium. So what are the three key elements that we can also adapt in our lives?
I would say one would be persistence for sure, relentlessly focusing on the job at hand, persisting to go get that done. I would say that will be very critical part of all the products I have built in the companies, the two startups I have done. Despite all the setbacks that took place, I was relentless. I was focused. I had a goal. I didn't sway away from it. And no matter how many setbacks came, I kept on getting up and moving forward and going through it again and again and again. I would say that'll be the single biggest thing I can attribute to my success in life.
Thank you, sir. So next, we are having Ayush Kumar Gupta from IIT Guwahati.
Sir, basically my question is while targeting big goals, like you have invented the Pentium chip, so there might be such situation in which you might get bored of the process or the thing which you are doing. So how to overcome such situation or and stay motivated throughout the journey?
First, I didn't invent Pentium. So Pentium is, you invent something fundamental. Pentium is not something fundamental. There were processors before that. It was just series of chips that we kept on progressing, making them faster, better, more functional, and easier to use, et cetera, et cetera. So I won't call it invention. But I got bored with doing research and development. And I think if you heard my whole talk, you heard about that I was involved in non-volatile memories initially. And then I switched on to the product side, which is microprocessor. So that was because I was bored doing what I was doing. Then I shifted it to adjacent area, not exactly same, but different. Then I built some success there. Then I got bored into doing 386, 486 and Pentium, didn't want to do any more. And I went joined a startup, NextGen, where we built the chip that was bought by AMD. Then I had never done a startup from scratch myself So I joined Silicon Spice and built that company and built it to success. And there was a major setback in the company. The original idea of Silicon Spice completely failed, uh, did not work at all. It was based on reconfigurable computing, but its implementation didn't turn out to be useful. But despite that, we pivoted the company into a different direction and built a voice over IP chip, which Compaq was interested in and helped us design, and Broadcom bought for a pretty hefty price. Then I didn't want to do more startups, and I looked for giving back to India and went into doing venture capital. So I raised a fund and we set up a venture capital fund in India to invest in India. We invested in Flipkart and Snapdeal and Myntra and companies like that that came through in that time era. Then when I was done with that, I started helping India with India Semiconductor Mission, and now I'm an angel investor where I invest into different ideas that people bring to my. So yes, you can't be doing same thing, or at least I cannot be doing same thing all my life. I do get every now and then wanting to do something different. The great thing about my current job, being a angel investor, is like an investor, but you get to see so many different ideas. People come to you with ideas even outside of technology, and you get to hear their concepts, and it's very educational to hear them, interact with them, learn from them, and every now and then invest small amount of money in them and help them and coach them and mentor them and teach them everything you know to make them successful. So I would say, yeah, there are ways to deal with it.
So next we are having Mitra K from Anna University, Chennai. I would request Mitra kindly ask your question.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
My question is, you moved to the US with just $8 and went on to lead important tech innovations. In those early days, Chad, how did you survive in a foreign country? But what is your advice to students who want to pursue studies in abroad and to settle?
Okay, my advice to them is, of course, don't be stupid like me and come with $8. Of course, try to see if you can get free tuition because it's very expensive. The colleges here charge, $50,000, $60,000 a year. That's a lot of money. So the best thing is to be able to, I went to Cincinnati. Part of the reason I went to Cincinnati, other than that they had a good semiconductor program, was that they were willing to give me free tuition, scholarship, and research assistantship. So I didn't have to come up with a lot of money to go to the schooling. If I had to, I probably would have never been able to go there or come to US at all. I mean, you should go abroad. There are good schools and programs are very good. Pick one carefully, which has really known. See, schools here are reputed for certain programs. No school is good in everything. So each school has some reputation in a particular area. So do your research, find that out, and apply there. Work with their admissions director. Project a good resume of yourself and interest and enthusiasm. That's what they're looking for. And if you get an opportunity, absolutely go for it.
Thank you, sir.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Mitra. I think you got your answer. So, sir, next we are having Dharni, yes, from Anna University. So, I would like to request Dharni, kindly ask your question.
Good evening, sir. So my question is, what role do you see startups playing in the success of India's semiconductor mission? And what do you think is the most important rule or principle to follow when starting a semiconductor startup?
So there are hosts of semiconductor design startups that are taking place in India. And in fact, there is a program under ISM called DLI that stands for Design Linked Incentive. So Government of India gives startup money, capital, to guys like you who have some bright idea about designing a chip that will solve a particular problem because we need a lot of domestically designed chips by startup people. I told you there were a lot of designers in India, but they're all locked into big multinational corporations. They're working for Intel, they're working for Nvidia, they're working for AMD, they're working for Broadcom. They're not working for government of India or doing things for themselves. So we are encouraging folks like you to design chips, and we have invested in about 24 companies so far in last couple of years. And we do a meeting every month where I and Professor Paul Raj, who's a very, again, a Padma Bhushan person from Stanford, a retired person who invented the MIMO technology, the 2G technology that goes into telecommunication. He and I, along with few other government officials, we look at these proposals that have been already screened, and then we decide whether we want to invest or not, and we give guidance to the entrepreneurs when we invest as to how they should go about building the company. Yes, I think there's opportunity for that. No, no one is building a startup. You can, because to build a fab, you need at least $1 billion. So startups, not too many people have $1 billion, or people are going to be given $1 billion to. So those are being done by Tata and by big corporations, Ambani's and Adani's, who are trying to set up fabs in India.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Dharani, for asking a question. So next we are having Shashi Kumar from IIT Kharagpur. You can ask your question.
Namaskaram, sir. Firstly, I would like to thank that you're present here for all of us, and also thanks for Buddy for Study giving this opportunity. I would like to ask if you can relate anyway in your journey to the mental health issues like the current generation facing. Is that something you want to comment about it?
See, you have to have the strength to take those setbacks and not really let you down on them. In my case, I was fortunate that when I was growing up and young, for example, even when I was going to college, I remember sometime when I'll come back home, I would be, feeling sad because I didn't think I did my exam very well, for example, I'll tell you. And my parents were not highly educated parents, but they were just enormously fantastic parents because they would, instead of asking me, "Oh, how did you do or not do," they were able to first read, just looking at my face, that I am not a happy person. And then instead of barraging me with questions, my mom would always say, "Okay, whatever happened has happened. You can't change that. And you have an exam tomorrow or day after, another one coming up. Just calm me down, let me relax, take some rest, and then start preparing for that." So I think that she instilled the confidence in me that despite setbacks, I have faith in you that you will go do well. You need some people around you like that. And if family is not providing that type of a support system, you need to find it somewhere else. And if not, maybe talk to one of the therapists, or if there's no therapist, I bet you there's some AI agent who will be more compassionate with you and tell you that, hey, don't worry, it's okay, it's not the end of the world. Trust me, throughout my life, I had so many setbacks, and I never thought it was the end of the world, but some people may think, wow, this is it, what's going to happen? Nothing is going to happen. Life is going to continue. Yeah, it may not happen exactly the way and the time you wanted it to happen. So big deal. It may happen later. Look at Steve Jobs. It took many years for him to find this calling and then find Apple and then become who he became. One thing that I would like you to go back is to listen to 15 minutes convocation speech he gave at Stanford, where he didn't graduate from, by the way, but they asked him to because he was God, right? And just listen to every word of what he says. Every word of what he says is inspiring. He's speaking from the heart, telling you the truth about what life is. But despite all that, you can still make it. You have to have faith. You have to have confidence. You have to have hope. You have to continue doing that. And if somebody is too depressed, I can have a separate call with them and I'll cheer them up, okay? If your parents or brothers and sisters are not helping you, call me. I'll talk to you and find out what is it that's bothering you and tell you how to deal with it. Okay?
Well, motivation behind is that I'm serving the position of head student welfare group at IIT Kharagpur. Seeing mishappenings in the college or even in most of the education universities in India, I felt like asking this question.
Sure. IIT Kharagpur, like other IITs, is highly competitive. I've been there. I've given talks in IIT Kharagpur, so I know very well. And I can understand sometimes India is so competitive and it's so looks like end of the world because you didn't really become first or you didn't get this or that. God's sake, please don't. You, even with that ranking, will outdo many of the kids here. Many of the kids here. There is nothing like that here, by the way. There's no IIT type environment and standing first. In fact, the top universities here in the postgraduate programs or don't even uh, disclose the grade. They don't want to disclose the grade. Why? Who cares? President Bush had a C from Harvard. I mean, he went on to become a president of this country. I mean, there are many examples of where I wasn't the top I mean, I got A's, but I won't consider myself to be the brightest and the best. And, if I go to IIT Kharagpur, I mean, rank probably 100th in 100 students. So who cares? I have some other qualities that they may not have. I have the drive. I have the ability to connect the dots. I'm able to see a bigger picture. I'm able to strategize. I'm able to inspire. I'm able to do so many things that the other person who can write the best code in the world may not be able to do. So what? Each one of us has to excel in our own ways.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
We have last scholar with us, that is Shivans Dwivedi from MNNIT Allahabad. So I would request Shivans to kindly ask your question.
Good evening, sir. Sir, my question was, sir, what are the top 2 or 3 skills that we can learn to become ready for the future in today's rapidly changing world?
So everybody does hard work. Everybody is reasonably smart. So what distinguishes people at the end between those who become highly successful and those who don't become that successful? So those characteristics is what you need to study about them. And I think one of the characteristics that I repeatedly told you is this ability to not get bogged down by a setback, but be able to learn from it, get up and move forward fast and keep on going forward and keep on getting setbacks, but keep on going forward. I had in my engineering college, I didn't like a subject called strength of materials. If you don't know what that is, more of a first 3 years of our college when I went to Delhi College of Engineering were common years. Common in the sense mechanical, civil, and electrical. We had only 3 subjects, and there were only 210 students. That's all the college was. And we were all taught the same subject first 3 years. Then it was the fourth and final year where you did electrical or mechanical or civil or whatever it was. There was a subject called strength of materials, which for life of me, I am a physicist. I love physics, love electromagnetics. I love communication engineering, electronic circuits, telecommunication. But they're teaching me strength of materials. I have zero interest in that. But that's a subject you have to learn. So I would basically skip that class or fall asleep in the class. And I clearly irritated the professor who saw me sleep in his class. Now, in the final exam, there was only one question. He was a very interesting guy. He only gave one question, only one. Normally, you get 13 questions. They say answer 10, answer 7. He just gives one. And he says, not only will answer it, I want to see the entire work not done on a slide rule. We didn't have calculators or phones. We had slide rules. I don't want you to just do that. I want you to, with hand, write down exactly. I want to see the entire calculation of what you get to the final answer on that piece of paper. And I remember sitting down. I knew they knew the question, and doing it. I went to the corner of that diagonally up. My last calculation was way up the edge of the paper where I showed him exactly my final answer, which was absolutely accurate. And he gave me passing grade. And I went to the mechanical engineering department from electrical engineering department where I belong to his office at 3 or 4 o'clock one afternoon. And I sat there and I said, sir, I think there was some mistake. And he said, what? I said, I did this accurately, but you gave me just a passing grade. And he says, but you didn't show me the all the calculations. I said, no, sir, I did. So I turned the paper around, I showed him each one step by step, step by step, step by step, step by step, all the way to the edge where the final answer was. And he looked at me and he said, but I think you only deserve a passing grade. He was clearly upset. He said, you deserve. He didn't say you have a passing grade. He agreed that I've done it right, but I'm going to give you what you deserve because you slept through my class. I'm going to give you a passing grade. Now, I was very happy that he gave me a passing grade. Now, what if he had not given me passing grade? Then I would be sitting here 1 year later and talking to you. So you have to look at everything as a glass half or half full. A glass full. I didn't cry a lot about it. It's a subject that I don't really care to learn. I did well. He's upset. He gave me a passing grade. So I'm not going to be a gold medalist in this college. Somebody else will be. So fine. That's not the end of my life. I am much more than a subject and a passing grade on a subject. That's how you should look at yourself.
Thank you so much for sharing the insights and for being here with us on this platform. I wish the journey back to your days and like how you developed the Pentium chip and how you went from IBM, Intel, and everywhere has roller coaster ride for you. And we truly enjoyed listening to all of that. And sir, the conversations, the insights, and your experience, the way you shared it, it was wonderful. Thank you so much for that, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. And thank you for asking all the questions. And I hope it will help you in some ways along the journey in your life.
Surely it will do, sir. Thank you to our scholars. Thank you, our team, for making this happen. And thank you, really, really thank you, sir, for joining us here.